What's going on, guys? Welcome to Before the Event for UFC on ESPN Plus 17, Rodriguez versus Stephens. We have an absolute banger for the main event between Jeremy Stephens and Yair Rodriguez. This should be an extremely fun fight, and I'm going to break it down for you guys here in Before the Event. This weekend, UFC heads to Mexico City for its 32nd event of the year, headlined by countryman El Pantera, who returns to the octagon after a 10-month layoff. Yair Rodriguez's last outing was one of the best knockouts of all time, unanimously winning Knockout of the Year for 2018. He is now positioned as the 7th best featherweight in the world, and he'll stand across from another top 10 knockout artist and longtime UFC lightweight and featherweight contender, Jeremy Stephens. These two guys share 15 fight bonuses across their career and 27 stoppage victories. It has potential banger written all over the fight. The odd makers are pretty varied for the main event, scoring commonly the two as a pick'em fight between Yair Rodriguez and Jeremy Stephens. But if there is some slight favoritism, it comes to the side of Yair Rodriguez, who is coming off again the 2018 Fight of the Year and Knockout of the Year, which is usually assigned for betting sites to give him the favorite spot. However, it for me is a pick'em fight. Yair Rodriguez comes in with the advantage of length, whereas Jeremy Stephens comes in with the dog danger, coming to kill, knockout power advantage. Pretty clearly, the power advantage comes with Jeremy Stephens, and I think the 5 rounds is going to benefit him as he's going to have 25 minutes to find that shot instead of 15 minutes like we saw in the Zabit Magomed Sharipov fight, where Zabit looked to be gassing in the 3rd round, but the final bell saved him, and Zabit ended up winning a unanimous decision over Jeremy Stephens. I probably would slightly lean towards Jeremy Stephens in this fight because of the fact that he's more of a veteran. I think that he has an advantage again with the 5 rounds. So it should be a fun fight, though. It is pretty much a pick'em fight. Yair has just the equal amount of chance of going to decision and picking up a win against Stephens, especially in Mexico City. But don't be surprised if Jeremy Stephens ends this fight early with the power that he has at featherweight. The co-feature showcases the inaugural 115-pound former champion Carla Esparza. She goes up against Alexa Grasso, and the former champ, however, comes in as the slight underdog in the Mexico City card. Grasso, 11-2, comes in as the slight favorite at plus 130. This should be a fun fight. I would probably, again, lean towards Esparza in this fight, however. The one that usually comes in as the underdog on a lot of fight cards. I think Esparza is going to be able to use her wrestling to get her way to a decision victory. I don't know if it'll be unanimous. It'll probably be split. I don't see this fight being as entertaining as most co-feature bouts that we've gotten recently. But nonetheless, this card looks to be a little bit lesser on the side of action, but those cards usually deliver. The rest of the card will showcase talented Mexican performers, highlight Askar Askarov versus Brandon Moreno. Askar has fought 10 times outside of the UFC, and he's undefeated and has never gone to a decision. That's right, he's had 10 straight stoppage victories heading into his UFC debut, and he takes a jump in competition to fight Brandon Moreno. Although Askarov hasn't fought relatively easy fights throughout his career, his opponent's records outside the UFC were a combined 92 and 24, but none have 5 UFC fights and a jiu-jitsu background like Moreno. Moreno is a Mexican talent, and he looks to upset the Russian, the undefeated Russian, in his home country. Askarov is the 9-4 pick'em favorite for MMA junkie analysts, and I would give that advantage to him as well. 10-0 with 10 straight wins, 10 straight stoppage victories. Doesn't happen very often. So if you're going to go with the UFC veteran, it makes sense. He's had 5 fights in the UFC, but he's had a pretty even UFC career, 3-2 in the UFC, but Askarov's never been there. So as Askarov is the very, very slight favorite at minus 170 with a 9-4 MMA junkie panelist lead, it should be a very, very fun fight, and I'm interested in seeing if Moreno is going to be able to get this fight to the ground. I saw some of Askarov's fights. He is able to be taken down, so if Moreno can end up doing that, I think that he has a significant advantage on the ground, so don't be surprised if you see a submission on the side of Moreno. The rest of the card showcases, again, a bunch of good talent. Shout out Kyle Nelson, Canadian, fights very close to me. That should be a very, very exciting fight. He is the feature bout on the prelims, so make sure you take a look at Kyle the Monster Nelson. But that's going to wrap up this episode of Before the Event. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more MMA content on the weekly, and we do it fun around here. Enjoy this week's UFC event, UFC Mexico City, like I will, like a lot of MMA fans will. Remember, enjoy.